bids are in, the gavel is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right. This is WineBid podcast, taking at all things wine value, wine retail, wine auctions, and just wine. My name is Jeff McGurn from the WineBid marketing team. With me, as always, is the Viceroy of Vinsanto. That's right, Paul Walker, our wine expert. Paul, or Viceroy, shall I say, welcome to the podcast. We're going to be recapping wonderful stuff, a lot of the wonderful stuff that happened
much wonderful stuff happened last week.
So much amazing stuff happened in auction. Let's start with the stuff that we saw getting a lot of bids, like where we saw a lot of action.
Sure.
Kind of interesting to me, right near the top, there were a couple. I mean, there was this 17 Fontaine, Guinard, Chassagne, Montrachet, La Romanée. 11 bids, took 6 of them from 90 to hammering at about $110 a piece. So we continue to see movement in sort of that sub $100, sub $200 range of bottles. Like the market seems to be adjusting down there.
That's a great Whiteberg vintage. It's been a few years out of the market, so not something easily found at retail anymore. La Romanée too is, great vineyard source, and Chassagne and Fontaine Guinard wines are not that expensive. Comparatively,
they weren't until Sunday.
Yeah, and so seeing it get pushed over $100 that's kind of like where things are going for those, deal whites, if you will, from a great vintage.
Let's talk another one that this is one. I mean, we see this happen a lot with this bottle, is these chimney rocks, right? Where 18 chimney rocks.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I don't understand what was going on with those wines.
See, I understand, because like you go to Chimney Rock and you buy whatever's out today, 2021, you go to Costco.
Right. No, you're right. It's a lot more expensive at the winery. Right? Yeah.
So 60, this one sold for $69 after 9 bids. I mean, at $50, that's a tremendous deal. 18's a great year for Napa Cabs. Chimney Rock makes some good wine, and everybody knows that at retail they're going to be paying $100, right? So
yeah.
$50,
yeah.
That I don't know. I would have been shocked if nobody bid it up from 50.
Right.
I'd be shocked if it sold at 50, because I would buy it at 50. I'd have bought it at 50 if nobody else would buy it at 50. We've got these 11 Domaine de Montier Bon Les Cizés. 8 bids, took it from 35 to 40.
De Montier. I just want to correct you so people know what we might be talking about. Bon Cizé. Yeah, those wines. I mean, $35 even for 11. 11 was a tricky red Berg vintage, but still, it's even got pretty decent scores from Berghound and Steven Tanzer, it looks like. So those wines were veritably inexpensive when they started. So not a surprise there. Everyone's looking for, inexpensive, mature red Burgundy. And so there you go. That's your answer right there.
Right there. 13 Dragonette Cellars Radian Vineyard Pinot Noir.
Yeah, that's a weird one. These wines are good, and they're really hard to find. So looks like it has a price tag of $58 on it too.
I'm just seeing that price tag.
$30 is very, very appealing. No, I mean, they're Dragonette. It's really, really tasty stuff. I've had a few, not for quite a few years, but they're very, very good and underpriced, as you can see, based on retail.
So then, like, I've yet to sell anything on WineBid. So if I do sell something on WineBid, I should like grab my wine, put price tags on it, say like $1,200, and then watch the bids, guys. Just very clearly visible price tags on my wine, right? 17 Gislaine Barthold, Chambois Moussigny. 8 bids, took it from 90, sold at like $98 a bottle. So about a 10% jump in that.
Let's also clarify so people know what we're talking about. Guylaine Barthold, fantastic, phenomenal.
I'm doing the phonetic spelling.
Yeah, well, that's not how you pronounce French. You don't pronounce it phonetically.
Tomato, tomato.
No, not at all. Guylaine Barthold, Chateau village wine from phenomenal Burgundy producer. I love these wines. Great vintage too, and it's not, they didn't get pushed up that bad. I mean, $9 a bottle, it's not terrible.
That's not terrible. What about this?
allocations for that wine are super, super limited. It's really hard to get. It's, got some time on it. It's from a good vintage. So lots of things that are pushing up the price, but it didn't go crazy.
What about this '06 Auspices de Beaune Premier Cru Cuvée Clos des Avaux Élevage Louis Jadot? 8 bids, took 4 of them from 35 to.
Well, yeah, I mean, $35 for even Beaune Premier Cru. Jadot gets somewhat, I think, underrepresented at auction, especially the Premier Cru sources. Their Grand Crus are not cheap, but not terribly expensive. But the Beaunes are very inexpensive. But they did almost double in price. That's not, I mean, again, it's a rare wine too, right? Like good luck replacing that.
Absolutely.
You might have to go to the hospice to try and find another example, but that's a steal. It's almost, it's 18 years old. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's amazing.
Also, there's this, I'll mention one more before we go to the heavy hitters and sort of weekly winners. 2010, Lopez de Heredia Rioja Vina Gravonia Blanco.
Oh, right.
It's from $25 to $82. Now, if you had bought cases of that wine.
Now, here goes Jeff with his
$25
investment advice. Jeff is our wine investment expert, so beware.
I'm just saying, right? That my advice would be to have bought that at $25 a bottle.
I mean, in your defense, it wasn't actually probably released all that long ago when you think about it, and I'm almost positive that if you tried to buy this at retail, it was more than $25. So
probably
even then, it's not necessarily a great investment. But the whites tend to do better than the reds. The rosé does incredibly well. I wanted to mention, by the way, for a single bottle record, this actually might be on our record sheet. I didn't even look yet, but somebody was very interested in 1992 Whitcraft Olivet Lane Pinot Noir, which started at $25, extremely good deal, and hammered at $305.
Wow.
So yeah, that was an interesting one. I've mentioned Whitcraft in our picks on occasion because it has kind of like a sommelier, cool climate, as it were, pursuit of balance following. And the old ones are obviously really hard to find, but 92 for 305, that was shocking. I mean, that's definitely Grand Cru Burgundy territory, which I mean, I'm sure that wine is good, but that's an interesting gamble, I think. Anyway, that was a fascinating one for me.
The 21 Mirrored Cellars Beckstoffer, Dr. Crane, Elysian, Cabernet Sauvignon. The 2 of those started at $160, ended up selling for $260.
21, really?
Yeah. Look, we keep talking about this week after week. There seems to be movement at the lower end of the market when you're talking about
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, the myriad wines are expensive too. So I think 2021, yeah, 160. I mean, that's way less than mailing list. So I'm kind of surprised. I think it got sort of pushed back up where it kind of belongs, because those are great wines. That seems to be sort of an underpriced reserve value, in my opinion, on those 21s, because I'm sure there's something like 250 on the list. So hammering at, what was it, 260?
I mean, I'm seeing them like
that's sort of in the range. That's kind of where I would expect them to sell.
I'm seeing them, it looks like back vintages, and it just sort of depends on the vintage, anywhere from, I don't know, some as low as like 185, but then up to $250, $300 for a 750, but just really depending on the vintage, and some as much as, 310. Anyway, let's talk about some of the heavy hitters, right?
Oh yeah. No, I was going to mention one other obscurity, if you don't mind.
Please.
There was, I think, a Foradori wine that we've probably, I don't think we've seen too many of them. There were a couple bottles. There was a 93 and 94 Teraldegos. I don't even know how to say the second name. It's Sgarzon. So not a typical Italian name, Sgarzon. That started, they were cheap. I think they started at $25 and they both hammered for $81. So just major rare. I mean, Foradori is a well-known producer, but in any event, extremely rare and fun to see that both get bid up to $81 for 93 and 1994.
Let's talk heavy hitters here.
Sure.
Leading the pack, 2020 Screaming Eagle Cabernet Sauvignon, 3-bottle lot OVC, 6870, followed by an O2 Screaming Eagle Cab, a 3-lot OWC.
Yep. The 2020, speaking of 2020 Screaming Eagle, that has really been all over the place because 6870, I think, is kind of a low for the 2020. It just hammered for over 10 grand just a couple of weeks ago. So massive volatility and swings in pricing for that wine.
That was January 28th at him for $10,500.
Yeah, 10,500 in January.
But then in November, it was at 67.20. So now we see it at 68.70, right? It's like an EKG.
Well, it's such a controversial vintage. It's the terrible fire vintage. A lot of red wine was not made in Napa in 2020. And so it's interesting. And I think originally, I don't know if it was going to be released or put into a second label or sold off or whatever. But yeah, the prices have been really wildly swinging all over the place.
'09 Harlan Estate 6-bottle lot OWC. This one sold for a grand total of $4,935. This one's interesting because I think we're seeing Harlan in a lot of areas continue to go up, right? Like even as in December, this was selling for $44.40.
Right.
Without 440. So even a $500 increase over the course of 4 months, pretty dramatic to me. You're talking about a 10% increase at a level of wine where, we're seeing a lot of actual softening in the market at sort of that top end.
Right. Yeah, there's been, I think, a lot more interest in, especially, this is almost 15 years old, it's like 14 years old. So anything with that kind of time on it is becoming more and more interesting. Although then just a little bit further down, there's Promontory. I see 18 Promontory 3-pack. What they sell for $22.80, I think, a piece, which is interesting in the sense that they kind of fluctuated a bit as well, but they're still going for more than they did on release, which I think was back in late 2022. So those wines have come up in value as well. Kind of like Bond, actually. It seems like the whole Harlan empire, the wines are all getting more and more sought after as time goes by.
Yeah. 91 Vega Sicilia Unico, 6-bottle lot OWC for $4,500.
Yeah, that's a big price. We've mentioned some older Vega Sicilia that's gone for some pretty wild numbers, but I consider 91 not that old. And
the most recent
Vega Sicilia, but that's a lot of money.
Well, this one was a weekly winner for us because this is the only case that we've hammered, but if you look at, 6-bottle lots, the most recent one was in 23 in October for $2,400. So this is a pretty big departure from $2,400.
Yeah, that's true. That's a big increase.
15 Comte Ligier Bel Air La Romani. 2 bids actually took it from $35.95 to where it hammered at $37.95. I thought that one's really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of wanted to take a look at that just to see. Yeah, it had been in auction for quite a while. So the price actually, that's one of those very, very high-end Burgundies that has seen some fluctuation in price. Was the hammer $37.95? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the few bottles of 15 that we've sold. So,
and then we've got this 1,600 acre Wraith Cabernet Sauvignon 6-bottle lot OWC. Actually had 2 bids on it, taking it from $33.90 to $35.90.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, actually.
That's cool. The other ones we had some 2008 to 2012 Colgin 9 estate property red mag 5-bottle lot vertical wood case for
that was cool. Did you look at this lot? I thought it was I was kind of interested in it because they're all etched magnums. We don't see large formats of Colgin that often. I don't think this was like a regular mailing list release at all. I feel like this is kind of a one-off because it's in a 6-pack wood box, 08, 09, 10, 11, 12. And yeah, like I said, they're all just etched. There's no paper labels on any of them, actually.
Super.
I thought that was I've never seen that before. That's a collectible item. And Colgin's, it's getting a lot more attention these days.
For sure, for sure. '08 Bond Mag 5-bottle horizontal wood case OWC. This one was interesting. Sells for $33.80. Last year, $23,000. And then
and we had, I think, years ago there was the same thing sold for $2,300. So these have definitely come up in price. It's taken a while. Bond has definitely shot up recently, but it's taken quite a few years.
So here's one that I thought was really interesting. Okay. 2015 Aubryon 6-bottle lot OWC. The last time we sold this was in February of 2019. We sold it for $3,690. It hammered on Sunday at $3,150. But what's interesting to me is it only had one bid. But it's just fascinating me because we haven't seen a lot of stuff that's come down off of the 2019 values, right? Like a lot of stuff went up 2020, 2021, 2022, and those highs. It's interesting for me to see something like Aubryon 6-bottle OWC dipping below the 15 value or the 2019 values. Because I feel like, theoretically it should still be higher than that, but it's not, which is interesting. And then this Bruno Giacosa, 2000 Bruno Giacosa, Filetto, a Sealy Reserva 6-bottle lot OWC. This one is another one where, first of all, it had two bids, right? So there was some action. Like it started off 28.20, hammered at 29.20. But what was really interesting to me was the last time we sold this was in January of 2019 for $32.50.
$32.50, yeah. So it's softened. That's the super high end Piedmont wine. It's obviously softened a little bit, kind of like super high end Burgundies. So similar pattern there. I don't know. I keep having this conversation with people that it seems like stuff at the very top of the market, with the exception of a few holdouts, that stuff is softening, right? Yeah. Seeing it come down to below even 2019 levels, right? Let alone forget the highs of 2022. We're seeing it come below what it was even before going into COVID. And then the other interesting one was this 2016 100-acre few and far between Cabernet Sauvignon 6-bottle lot OWC had three bids on it, taking it to $28.10. Yeah, 100-acre getting more attention, especially for a few vintages out. So that's kind of interesting.
That's interesting.
Did you see the 2020 MacDonald?
No, what did that sell for?
Yeah, so it started at $575, and looks like there were two bottles.
Didn't that roll over?
No, I don't think so. Let me check.
There was some MacDonald that was rolling.
No, that was the first, because the 2020 it literally just got released, I think, like within the last month or so.
Okay, so the 2020 is like basically it's finding its market.
Yeah, so they started at what did I say? 575, 525 or something. Yeah, 575, two bottles both got bid up to
1202 and 1300.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, wow.
And in 2020, they made less than they have in previous vintages. So I think they only allocated mailing list members a bottle or two, maybe just one. I can't remember, but yeah. So that's a collectible. It's kind of like Screaming Eagle, but I don't think the price will drop for the 2020 for MacDonald because it's pretty serious money.
Let's go ahead and talk some of the weekly winners. I thought it was really cool to see this 1943 Beaulieu Vineyard Georgia State Latour Private Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon sell for $2,100.
Yeah, we had some very interesting BV last week.
Yeah, the 46 super rare. 46 Georgia State Latour for $1,900, 57 Georgia State Latour for $1,000, and a 50 Latour for $650. So really cool to see. Some records being set with Georgia State Latour. That's some really neat stuff. 67 Cheval Blanc 480, which is a high on record, right?
That's a tricky vintage. So that's a one-off, I think, for sure. Another one that would be next to impossible to replace, because those tough vintage Bordeaux, they're collectible for anniversary or birthday or whatever, but still, that's a rare one.
What do you make of the 2000 Aubryon hammering at $995?
2000 Bordeaux are going up again. It's wild. Like they're just. if you look at other incredible vintages, they're all over four figures now. So I'm 2000, I think, is just right behind it. Especially for Oprion, it's like amazing wine.
I mean, it's $5 off of getting that 1 comma. And then we had, you talked about the 2020 MacDonald, we talked about the Vega Sicilia, 89 Grange for $895. I thought was interesting. Previous high was in 2022 for $500.
Yeah, that's going up too.
That's going way up. And then there was a 78 Grange for $745, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, just some movement on the Grange. And then this 14 Palmer Piece de Resistance 3-bottle lot ODBC for $1,005, right? The previous high was in 2023.
Yeah, the PS, the Palmer PS, that's great wine. And 14, like not the most epic of vintages, but still, yeah, there's a lot of interest there.
It's doubled since July of 2023. So not even a year, and you've seen the Pièce de Resistance.
I think it's like I think it's 350 or more from the winery too. So it's still not a crazy price for that wine. It's pretty good.
All that though, a lot of movement in the market. Keep an eye out because later this week we're going to be going over some wines that are new to the auction. And with WineBid finally hammered, this has been Paul Walker and Jeff McGurn wishing you happy bidding and cheers.
Cheers.